Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002 for Dennis J. Courtney, M.D.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AIM Impact on Your Health. AIM Impact on Your Health, where every day our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AIM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AIM Impact on Your Health, for each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, and fascinating health topics, and of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in today. So let me ask you this: are you a cancer survivor? Are you sure, by the way, if you actually have survived it? And do you think you'd like to know if you actually did beat it or not? You just can't figure out how to do that? Well, our guest today ought to be especially interesting to you and to all of you out there listening who have wonderment with respect to cancer issues. You may not have any inkling that cancer is working its way through your system right now, but often wonder, geez, could I know? The answer to all those questions is you better believe it. And our guest today, Emil Schandl. Dr. Emil Schandl is going to be with us. Runs a laboratory in Fort Lauderdale entitled American Metabolic Laboratories, and we're going to be talking about very sensitive testing today, HCG testing to detect cancer at very, very low levels. You won't want to miss it. And in the course of our discussion with Dr. Schandl, you want to call in to ask a question or make a comment. The number, of course, as always, will be 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. I'll give you that number additionally throughout the hour. Now, up-and-coming schedules looks this way. On Wednesday, more than likely, we're going to open it up to you. Right now, I have nothing scheduled, meaning it's you, folks. On Friday, though, a very awaited and expected return of Dr. David Brownstein, discussing one of his many additional books. He has 10 of them, you know. The most recent one, however, on the soy deception, at least that's the title of the book. You get the idea that soy isn't cracked up, all that it's cracked up to be considered helpful in your health. And we'll have Dr. Brownstein elaborate on the various reasons for why there is a soy deception to even discuss. And of course, the rest of the month will take shape. I'm flipping the page, looking into November, far out into the future. We've got Roland Thomas going to be with us on the 7th of November. He's going to be talking about diabetes with respect to the BAC series, the bioengineered algae concentrates. You know, it's just not a great supplement. I call it the all-inclusive supplement. It's just not a great one of those, but it actually was brought into play in the Soviet Union to help correct initially animal populations that just were sick and not yielding, and the human population in one major event, you know, as Chernobyl in 1986. Anyway, diabetes, the topic with Roland, that's going to be on the 7th. And on the 9th, Susan Smith-Jones returns, talking about 10 tips on how not to gain weight over the holidays, as they are up and coming. Hate to say that, especially with summer-like weather that we've been having outside. Anyway, don't forget, too, supplement-wise here, the big two here, the F3 series with the bioengineered algae concentrate. As I say, I call it the all-inclusive because it has all vitamins, all macrominerals, all microminerals, all amino acids, all essential fatty acids, all antioxidants. This is one powerful supplement, and it's all rolled up into one instead of having to purchase. Oh, by the way, all enzymes too, as amylase, protease, and lipase, still found in the same substance, and that is was a living substance, bioengineered algae concentrates, and they're very small capsules to digest, as well as complete and full assimilation of that organic stuff. Then don't forget also the oil supplements that we have been promoting for quite some time now. The fish oils, hopefully you've come to grips with your demons. Giving up your fish oils, don't necessarily give them up until you finish what you purchased. But when it comes time to repurchase, please don't go for the fish oil anymore. 4-to-1 oil, which is the now scientifically proven way to take your essential fatty acids in a ratio of 6-to-1 of omega-6s, that is, to omega-3s, 6-to-1. The parent compounds fall under two categories. The omega-6 category is the linoleic acid category. The omega-3 category is the alpha-linolenic acid category, and the representative of each in the omega-6 side would be safflower, sunflower, primrose oils, and on the omega-3 side, the alpha-linolenic would be flax and chia seed. Anyway, this is the stuff that has been scientifically proven. We have literally have a difficult time keeping the stuff in stock. So let's go for that for a while. In the news, should mention to you, yesterday in the, or was it Saturday? I guess it was Saturday. Here we go again with the federal government getting involved with testing. The last time they did this, and it had a major splash, was 2 years ago. There's a board, which is called the United States Preventative Services Task Force. And on Tuesday, they're going to publish a new directive concerning PSA testing. And 2 years ago, they were the body, the public service body, the governmental body that said that women in the ages of 40 should not get any mammograms at all. Of course, I'm in favor of that, but I mean for 50s and 60-year-olds too. Nonetheless, there was an outcry from women, and there still is today, about those new standards. And by the way, they are the new standards. This is what happens when government starts laying down the law with respect to should you or should you not cover these services. But now they've taken on a new one. This one is the PSA. And they're saying, don't get the test. Don't get it at all. It's not helpful. It leads to some pretty serious medical procedures like punch biopsies and sometimes surgeries that aren't even necessary. And now they're saying, do not get the PSA test because it just isn't backed up what it's purported to be. In actuality, I think you have to read through the lines here and come up with the cold, harsh facts, which are true. Not that prostate testing isn't helpful. It absolutely does detect. There's a number of false positives, too, because it absolutely can detect the presence of cancer, and for that matter, it would be a very swell test to take, just as a screening test. The new standards are saying no longer should it be used for a screening test, and unfortunately, I think that's going to be what prevails. These are the governmental agencies that are trying to get a hold of healthcare costs. The reason why both of those, I'm talking about the mammograms that are no longer recommended, especially for 40-year-olds, and only recommended every other year in 50-year-olds plus, are going to be lumped in with not getting PSA testing at all. The reason for that is that the outcomes are not changed. This was what happened when the mammograms were shot down 2 years ago. There was no improvement in outcomes whether you got a mammogram or not. And of course, you know the reason why that's the case, because the mammogram, such a poor tool as it is, always detected the lesion too late. And even though heroic measures like biopsies and lumpectomies and the like were performed in what I call the kabuki dance, it didn't amount to a hill of beans in the overall survival rates, because it was already too late of a test in order to capture this at a time when it could be corrected. I'm afraid that is now the fate and destiny of the PSA test, because even though it can alert you to cancers, prostate cancers, it does so without any improvement in the overall survivability. In other words, in both cases, the patients live as long after having either mammogram or prostate specific antigen, which is what the PSA stands for, as they did if they never had it at all. And so this really bespeaks of how poor the cancer industry is with dealing with the cancer at the stage that it is found. And by the way, both of these dovetail quite nicely into the discussion we're going to be having today on how actually you can detect the presence of cancers extremely early and at a time when you actually can do something about it that has a major impact on the ultimate outcomes and disposition of those cancer cases. So I get a feeling there are going to be some angry people out there. The governmental agency entitled the United States Preventative Service Task Force did not have one oncologist or one urologist sitting on the panel. More than likely, that's the reason why they could make such broad sweeping announcements, because nobody was there to represent the standard cancer industry in both specialties. But nonetheless, I get a feeling PSA may be going by the way, at least from an insurance coverage standpoint, and that's the way it is. We'll pick it up and in the near future, I'm sure. Okay, let's do this. Speaking of the cancer story and how best to detect it, I'm really proud to bring you our guest today. He was with us once before when he actually was in Pittsburgh. He presented at the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy Group back in March, and we did have him on the show. We bring him back now because, well, this becomes a timely subject to revisit and how sensitive the testing is to detect whether you have cancer at all. So we're going to be back in a moment with Dr. Emil Schandl. Hope you enjoy the show today.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of the confusion based on a blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been perfecting over the last 7 years. We offer metabolic nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Honey, just got the word. The company's new health plan has a $5,000 deductible. We have to make sure nobody gets sick this year. Remember what those doctor's visits cost for last year's colds and flu? Oh, sorry, I gotta go. Love you.
We can do this. We can cut the fast food lunches. Soda, that's a lot of sugar. We could all take that evening walk. And hey, I heard a program about fruit. Fruit of the spirit. What did they say? 1 ounce, the equivalent of 5 servings of fruit with herbs and minerals. We could add some to our breakfast protein shake. Fruit of the Spirit is a unique whole fruit puree. Fruit of the Spirit contains fresh fruits native to the Holy Land and alkalizing minerals from the Dead Sea with no added sugars. Fruit of the Spirit is a unique product from 5 years of work from science-based nutritional experts. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of the Spirit, up to lessons for your good health. Fruit of the Spirit, convenient, affordable, and delicious. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AM Impact on Your Health. Out here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on a Monday morning version of the show, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, as outside we're still having lovely weather here. The subject today moves to a rather serious topic, but in a way that I hope as we complete our show today, you can see where you actually can gain control of your own destiny. I have a feeling that when it comes to cancer, so oftentimes you feel that you're just a passenger, that you dread that diagnosis, you have no control, it is out of control, and in fact, Nothing can be further from the truth. Especially is the case we talk about testing for the presence of cancer, and our guest today knows an awful lot about that. He was in Pittsburgh back in March, was nice enough to come on our show at that time. He presented to the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy group up in Butler at that time, but I've never forgotten his lecture, and he's used much of what he had to teach us at that time in my practice today. The gentleman who's with us has a testing laboratory in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He does very sensitive testing for the presence of cancer. We're going to be talking about it today. His name is Dr. Emil Schandl. He's with us right now. Good morning, Dr. Schandl.
Good morning to you.
Nice to have you back. I'm looking forward to this discussion today. You know, when you were here in Pittsburgh, you generated a lot of enthusiasm by those who had very many concerns about cancer. Some actually have had the diagnosis of cancer at the time. Others just trying to ponder it, realizing that they could take control of their own destiny with, in fact, determining if they were currently undergoing a cancer lesion. Let's start our discussion with, I believe, to be the theory that has been lost. I don't hear it mentioned by many of my colleagues at all, yet this is strongly grounded in science. Why it can be ignored, I don't know, but could you talk to us a bit about the use of HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin, also known as the pregnancy hormone, in testing for cancer, and in particular the relationship to something called the trophoblastic theory. Now, I hope I haven't confused you all, folks, but keep in mind the trophoblastic theory is what, once you understand it, may allow you to appreciate the beauty of the testing of HCG. Go ahead, doctor. What is the trophoblastic theory, and why is HCG a marker for cancer?
Well, the HCG hormone, I call it the pregnancy and the malignancy hormone, that is cancer hormone. And the reason why I call it the malignancy hormone is because we find that in more than 80% of any cancer, in males, females, children, anywhere. So it seems to be a product, as I'm pretty certain it is, of cancer cells, probably at a very early stage. Now, that was Dr. John Beard in England back at the beginning of the last century, and he proposed the so-called trophoblastic theory of cancer. Now, before I talk about it, let me describe what trophoblasts are. Trophoblasts are the product of fertilization. Sperm meets the egg, and they start to divide. The first product of this division will be trophoblasts. Now, these cells are known to be extremely invasive and corrosive, and it's very important because they contribute to the implantation into the uterus of the developing embryo. Now, these cells make the HCG hormone, and this hormone has the characteristic of inhibiting immunity, among so many other things. It also, as we know, that Beard didn't know, that this hormone will contribute to cell division, particularly of itself and even of its neighbors, and it has the propensity for de novo, brand new startup of DNA, RNA, and protein synthesis. Now, Dr. Beard, the embryologist, observed this, the development of these trophoblasts, and he postulated and found that during embryonic development, as this cell division goes on into various stages of embryogenesis, will invade the new developing individual body and also the gonads. He found that 80% of these trophoblasts will invade the gonads, that so to speak, the ovum, the eggs in female children or embryos, and to the testicles of the male embryo. And there they will remain. Now, he did not know or see, and I'm thinking about it, that these trophoblasts actually become unidentifiable until something happens to them, like they become active, because as the development goes on, embryonic development, and life begins, birth and all that, these trophoblasts will take up the shape of the environment in which they are. So trophoblasts will become a lung cell, a bone cell, a brain cell, whatever organ they might be in, they will assume that state and also the functions of those organs and of those cells. Everything is fine until, I would say, some sort of environmental condition. I think there will be lack of oxygen will prevail, and these cells will become alive and they become trophoblasts again. I should mention that the trophoblast HCG production apparently is an anaerobic situation. So when a cellular condition is anaerobic, low oxygen pressure, tension is there, this is when the trophoblasts start to make their products, the HCG hormone. And this will happen in carcinogenesis at the earliest stage, when there is no way that anyone could really detect any cancer cells, but we can find the products of cancer cells. So to test for HCG alone, I suppose perhaps even on a yearly basis, when it shows up, that may give a warning that something wrong is happening, and this is the time when the corrective action should be taken. And as I mentioned, that oxygen may be, or availability of oxygen may be a major factor. This is the time, if somebody has HCG in their blood, that this individual will have to consider the internal and external environment and try to deal with it. We know that for cancer to develop, it will take 10 to 12 years. So how good it might be to know, suppose at year 4, that something is happening. There's no way of telling how far this situation is advanced in an individual, but if there is a hormone, that something is wrong.
All right, let's recap, because I think that once the listener appreciates this theory, then they can really appreciate your service of testing for this HCG. If I heard you correctly, and I understand Beard's work, he published back in 1904, quite a long time ago. He must have been an excellent embryologist. I have forgotten the fact that this embryology course that I took, and you took too, are based on many of the concepts that Beard laid down by his work back in 1904. But essentially, the story goes like this, that during fertilization, trophoblastic activity gets churned up to an accelerated rate, and it is the trophoblast itself that manufacture HCG, the so-called pregnancy hormone that allows a female to have her doctor order a blood test, and when she goes to get that blood test, what's being tested for is the HCG made by those trophoblasts, in pretty high quantities, I might add. But besides manufacturing HCG, these trophoblasts can burrow and implant within the lining of the uterus, take hold, take footing, and ultimately form the rudimentary beginnings of what will become the placenta. This appears to be well understood even by the layman in terms of how HCG is produced, and the fact that its implantation in the uterus serves as an anchoring point for developing embryo. But I think what has bypassed much of the literature is the fact that 80% ultimately of the trophoblasts migrate to the gonads, and the other 20% migrate to every other place. So trophoblasts are found in all tissues everywhere. Even though they lie dormant, even though they're undetectable as trophoblasts, they are there. But then, as you mentioned, something triggers them. More than likely, I think you might be correct, because this would be in keeping with the Otto Warburg theory of the development of cancer anyway, which was a low oxygen tension below a threshold of 35%, I believe. And if these are basically anaerobically induced, meaning low oxygen content can induce them, one can appreciate how then that a cancer can develop in any organ and have the production of HCG expected from that cancer. Did I say it right, doctor?
Yes, you very well explained the happening. The addition to this would be that for cancer, those cancers which originate and develop in the gonads are the most aggressive cancers there are. Testicular cancer in the male, either small choriocarcinoma, cancer in the female, these are extremely aggressive. And
We
these
can't
are
hear 'em.
HCG.
All right. Hang on. Dr. Schandl, we're being told that we can't hear you. When you speak up a little bit into the receiver, Doctor.
Oh my God, okay.
Okay.
What I was saying is that the cancers which develop in the gonads, like in the testicles for the male and in ovaries in the female, are the most aggressive cancers there are. And these cancers produce very large quantities of HCG, and the medical science today, and for a while now, been recognizing that HCG is an excellent test for these types of cancers. However, it seems that, I mentioned it earlier, more than 80%, if not more, of any cancer will produce HCG. And, that's where the very sensitive, more sensitive testing comes in play, that we, in our laboratories, American Metabolic Laboratories in Hollywood, Florida, we are detecting HCG levels down to 1 millien-international units per milliliter, and sometimes even below. So we are using the most accurate and most sensitive tests there have ever been designed for this particular hormone.
Now, we're going to get into that in just a moment, but let's just say that others have pursued this preceding you. In particular, it has become well known that this test has been available for quite some time through Dr. Navarro. You had to take the specimen on your own, prepare the specimen and send it to the Philippines to get this test. Could you comment a bit about the Navarro test and the pitfalls of that kind of testing as you see it?
Certainly. Dr. Navarro was indeed a pioneer in early cancer detection, and definitely one of the first ones, not the first one, who utilized the HCG hormone test for detecting and following cancer. His test is a urine test, and the preparation of it is really relatively crude. You mix the urine with acetone, and then you filter it through a coffee filter, and you send in the precipitate, what you find on the filter, to the Philippines. Now, this was actually today is still being used. The problem with this test is that it is rather an old methodology which cannot distinguish between HCG hormone and 3 other hormones. These other hormones are thyroid-stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, follicle-stimulating hormone. These hormones are extremely similar, and the test that is using cannot distinguish between HCG and these. So I would say, in fact, there must be a very large number of false positives, particularly in individuals who are, in ladies who are postmenopausal, because they make large amounts of LH, FSH, luteinizing hormone, follicle-stimulating hormone. People who have hypothyroid, serious hypothyroid problems, this all will show up as HCG. Again, I give full credit to Dr. Navarro for being a pioneer doing this test and promoting it as a test for cancer detection and follow-up. But I think if they want to continue this, they need to gear up and do some more sensitive and more precise and more specific tests which are available. The only thing is that our laboratory, American Metabolic Laboratories, have even refined the available methodologies to a point where we are very certain that what we're detecting is HCG and nothing else.
Well, let's just say that as a pioneer, and I think you put it in those terms, Dr. Navarro should be commended for his ability to appreciate the role that HCG plays in all cancers. But as things normally do happen, refinement takes over, sophistication takes over, and the laboratory of today has evolved to be very uncrude and highly specific, and that's where I believe your laboratory, located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, has really brought this to another level of specificity heretofore unknown through the Navarro test, which, as you mentioned, can be plagued by a number of false positives. Let's talk about your testing at American Metabolic Laboratories. With respect to the HCG, you actually do 3 tests. Could you walk us through these 3 tests and then mention how sophisticated and how sensitive then HCG testing can be with your particular mode of testing?
Certainly. It was, as time go on, people are testing, for instance, pregnant women for HCG in hospitals. They've been doing this for a while, and they found that the methods that they were using, even here in the United States, more modern methods, far more than the Navarro test, they found some false positives. And the way they found that is that they performed unnecessary surgeries as a result of HCG being present in the blood, and they detected it in low amounts. So to avoid this, it is necessary, as has been published in the biomedical literature, to do more than one test to be certain that the low levels of HCG which are reported are real HCG and not some kind of an artifact. So therefore, we are doing presently 3 tests for HCG on every individual that we are testing. One of these will be the urine test, and that is the Navarro specimen. And the other 2 are by 2 different methodologies. One is chemoluminescence assay, and the other one is radioimmunometric assay. So these are really the most sophisticated and most sensitive tests there are on the market. The reason I'm really testing for urine is to try to see what and satisfy those who are familiar with the Navarro test. Now, our normals, even in the urine, we quantitate the urine as I don't think any other laboratory does it in the United States or anywhere else. And there the sensitivity is 1 million tenth units per milliliter. The Navarro test starts, I believe, somewhere on 50 or 52, their cutoff point. And those are, so our test is at least 50, but I think it's 700 times more sensitive to detect small amounts. The important thing is that there must be 2 of these 3 tests to be positive before one can say that there is HCG in the blood. Therefore, there precautions, whatever steps need to be taken to get rid of this. And you can realize how important this is. We are talking about cancer, developing cancer, existing cancer, possibly following cancer through an individual's treatment course, whatever they are receiving, and you really don't want to work with false results, or faulty results. You don't want to raise the alarm when there is none. So that's what we are doing, and to really my satisfaction, and those who are using the test.
Now, by taking and doing 3 tests for HCG, 1 being urine, 2 being blood, and the 2 blood tests are using the most sophisticated laboratory analysis possible now with radioimmunoassay, and what was the other one you used?
Chemoluminescence.
Chemoluminescence. These are well known to be detecting very minute quantities when searching for other parameters. You just happen to be able to apply them to such minute levels of HCG, and I believe it could be probably said that other laboratories in the country never devote that kind of attention. They never use those sophisticated means. Am I right about that assumption, by the way?
That is very much correct. I don't know any laboratory who really is equaling what we are doing.
All right. So I think, and I remember my discussion with you back in March, and I'm going to bring to you what I left with it, which in terms of sensitivity, I remember you saying to me, because you gave us numbers a moment ago, but if I remember correctly, you said that these testings are so sensitive that they can detect cancer at a stage of a cluster of cells equaling 12. Do I remember our conversation correctly or not?
Yes, you do. The reason why we can really raise a warning signal is because we are not looking for the cancer cells themselves. At that point, the 12 cells, a dozen cells, or 2 dozen, or 3 dozen, even thousands, there is no way that one can visualize or ascertain there's any cancer at all. So we are looking for the products of cancer cells, and HCG is one of them. And the products are there, and one of them is the HCG hormone. And as time may allow, of course, I would like to talk about the other tests as well.
Well, we're going to get into that in just a moment, but that is such a startling fact to know, that these testings, especially when you're using the three, the one urine and the two blood, has such a level of sensitivity that they can detect a cluster of cells of 12 or greater. I don't know of any other test that is that sensitive. If you do, please tell me. And where it takes millions of cells to equal the amount necessary to be equal to the head of a pin, it brings and conjures up images of such sensitivity that this should be testing that all should consider, no matter what kind of cancer they have. Could you elaborate on that sensitivity one more time, Doctor?
Yes, well, the fact is that modern methods like the CT, the CAT scan, MRI, and just about any there will require a rather small tumor mass, and the size of this tumor mass is about 3 millimeters, which is somewhere around between an eighth and a 16th of an inch. So if something is smaller than that, it's not there.
How many billions of cells would that be?
I really can't.
It is billions, though, isn't it? Billions?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So the fact that we are looking for the product of these cells, that's what makes it so possible that we can not only predict, but see that the cancer process is going on.
It's just amazing to me that there is something that sensitive. So let's move on now. Not only did you take this theory to the nth degree, and I have to commend you for it, Doctor, because nobody else in the country that I know of and that you've been able to speak of has done the same. You also put together a profile. You call it the cancer profile, to try to give a person as best an understanding as they could about their status with respect to cancer. So I would ask you to talk to us about the other components, the HCG test, both the blood and the urine for sure are in your cancer profile. What are the other components of this bundling of studies that you referred to the cancer profile are? What are they?
Okay. The main components, tumor markers, would be, besides the HCG, the PHI enzyme, phosphohexoisomerase, and the carcinembryotic antigen. Now, the PHI enzyme, similar to the HCG hormone, is requiring, the production of it requires an anaerobic condition. And that is when this enzyme will be turned on. The PHI enzyme regulates anaerobic metabolism, and that is by converting glucose 6-phosphate to fructose 6-phosphate. It channels cells into anaerobic metabolism. And when this occurs, the cells will no longer use oxidative phosphorylation, but they go into sugar glycolysis. Now, this enzyme also became known to be the human autocrine motility factor. That means that this enzyme is responsible for the spread of cancer. When there is a certain concentrations, like abnormal concentrations of this enzyme, will cause the enzyme to leave the cell in which it's made, and then it will dock on the surface of the cell on a genetically determined docking site. And once this union occurred with the enzyme and between the enzyme and the cell, this enzyme will become a neurokine, and it will cause the cells to vibrate, dislodge, and move somewhere else. So today we know that the cancer spread really occurs way before doctors ever suspected it before. Even today, though, we're looking for metastatic lesions once there is a tumor somewhere else detected by PET scan or CAT scan or MRI or something like that. But we're talking about micrometastasis that this enzyme is responsible for. We find this enzyme present again in a very large percentage of cancer cells, and it's there in just about every one, if not all of them. The third tumor marker component is the CEA, or carcinoembryonic embryonic antigen, and this is a well-known tumor marker. It was designed to monitor colorectal cancers, but it is a very good broad-spectrum tumor marker with peripherally related tests, which are part of the cancer profile, is thyroid-stimulating hormone. Low thyroid activity will lead to cancer. As I mentioned, that thyroid regulates basic metabolic rate, oxygenation, and all those things. And also GGTP, or gamma-glutamine transpeptidase. This will monitor mostly the liver, the most sensitive test for the liver. We also do DHEA, the high-dependrosterone. This is the adrenal anti-stress pro-immunity longevity hormone. This is very important. As I mentioned, it is pro-immunity. Most cancer patients have very low DHEA in their blood, if any at all. And it seems that those who are to develop cancer have low DHEA. In fact, most of the American population have very low DHEA. Consequently, our home statistics show that more than 60% of all Americans, male, female, are somewhere in developing stages of cancer. And of course, doesn't mean this everybody will get the cancer, but knowing that you are having elevated tumor markers will forearm you so that you will not have to end up in an emergency room or in surgery and all these horrible therapies which are awaiting for you. Therefore, it's extremely important that at least once a year you are going to have these tests done on you to make it sure that you are not in the process of developing cancer.
Well, good recommendation. So the entire panel has the 3 HCG tests. This PHI, which I don't know of anyone else that does it, literally is a marker for invasiveness and for probability of metastasis. It is extremely interesting to me that there is such a marker that can be detectable and would give a clue to the patient as to the seriousness of their cancer. Is that a fair enough assessment of the PHI?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, indeed.
Okay, so that one's so there's the 3 HCG tests, the PHI, and then other tests which are very commonly used tests in the medical realm, but not necessarily tagged to cancers. TSH, I don't believe, has ever been used by the conventional community as looking for some clue as to cancer. CEA absolutely has been used for that purpose. GGTP also been used for that purpose. But DHEA, I don't think ever. So the picture that can emerge from your cancer profile is quite illustrative as to the status of that individual at that particular moment with respect to A, the possibility of cancer, and B, whether cancer is increasing or progressing. Is that a fair assessment, Doctor?
Yes, it is. Also, it needs to be mentioned that if there is a suspicion of possible breast cancer, of course, the laboratory performs the so-called CA15.3 test, that's cancer antigen 15.3. For ovarian cancer, the CA125, cancer antigen 125. For gastric pancreatic cancer, CA19.9. And also for possible prostate problems, we do the high sensitivity third generation, the PSA, prostate-specific antigen. So this would be very good adjuncts to the cancer profile for those who have any suspicion, family history, that sort of a thing, to be sure that these traditional markers are not present. Needless to say, and I see it every day, that those tests are not nearly as sensitive or decisive as the cancer profile is. But if any of those tests are elevated in those kinds of circumstances, that needs to be taken seriously, and then those tests will also become tumor markers for the individual who already has cancer. They're not going to show in a developing cancer.
Well, this, the fact that the HCG component is so sensitive that it can detect a cluster of cells as small as 12 cells. If it could be combined with an additional marker even at a point when it might not be detectable through CT, PET, or other means, could be the earliest possible way to learn that you have a cancer that I know of. Would that be a correct assessment on my part?
Yes, it is.
That is fantastic, doctor. That is unbelievable. Now, this CA profile, of course, done only at your lab. It's the only one in the country I know that does it. We require patients to get their blood drawn, their specimens drawn. We have, when you were here last, said we would be happy to do it. We've since now communicated with your wife on this matter, who evidently is very much involved with your work, doctor. And I'm proud to announce that we absolutely will become the draw station here. Could you talk to us about the draw component of this, the fact that a doctor's prescription, and I'll be happy to act in that capacity too, must be provided in order for you to do the test. You just couldn't show up without a doctor ordering it. And because very few doctors can appreciate HCG or PHI or any of this, it'd be difficult to find a doctor that would know to order this. So talk to us a bit about this this component of doctor's prescription as well as drawing.
Dr. Courtney, you are absolutely right about that, and we are very grateful to you to bring this to your listeners, and that you have agreed to help us to have blood drawn and then a patient supervised by you, because obviously you know the test very well, and you will be a very important part of the either recovery or maintenance or prevention. So it's hard to find a physician who really truly understands all what we are talking about now. But I'm lecturing around the country, and more doctors are listening up, and I'm very proud to say that more and more doctors are getting involved with this kind of a thing, which is very preventative. And I know that you've been in preventive medicine for a while now, and that is something that requires a lot of background, a lot of knowledge, which you well possess. And it would be very nice to direct patients to you, those who contact us from I guess anywhere in Pennsylvania.
Anywhere in Pennsylvania, anywhere in western Pennsylvania. We were happy then. We are more than elated now to act as the draw station. We will provide the prescriptions as are so necessary to allow you to perform the test. I just want our listeners to know that they can feel free to call us here to schedule that kind of testing. We have kits. Your wife was so nice to send a few up. We'll be getting more. Just to give you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, the cost of the test, the cancer profile, now we can order other things too, but the basic cancer profile is a $350 fee. We also have a draw fee associated with it as well as shipping, but I think it's all reasonable when you consider the sensitivity of this test. And for that reason, Doctor, I'm happy to be able to announce our relationship with you as of this moment. Okay?
Well, I appreciate it very much, and looking forward to working with you.
Now, what I'd like to do is to give you a break. I'm going to take a short break here. When we come back, I sat down over this weekend. I knew you were going to be my guest. And I've got 5 different, for you listening out there, I've got 5 different situations that I feel would warrant getting this test. I want to see if you agree with me, Doctor. Do you mind listening to the 5 things I jotted down when we return?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, folks, we've got him with us. Dr. Schandl is with us from American Metabolic Laboratories. HCG testing available now in my office. And I'll go over with you those that should consider taking a test. We'll be back in just a short moment. Go right ahead.
Want to help your family eat healthier? Instead of learning to disguise tofu in one recipe, how about some real nutritional power? If your family has the typical American palate for fries, pizza, and burgers, giving your family the blessing of good nutrition is a struggle. Fruit of the Spirit is the answer for your family's nutritional needs. Fruit of the Spirit is an all-natural, whole fruit puree made from fresh fruits native to the Holy Land with alkalizing minerals. Fruit of the Spirit was the formulation of 15 top nutritional experts with independent science to confirm its antioxidant power. 1 ounce a day provides the equivalent of 5 servings of fruits and minerals. Fruit of the Spirit is convenient, affordable, and delicious. Even your picky family will sing the of Spirits. Give your loved ones a blessing of good nutrition. Call 1-800-442-3793 for a special promotional offer. Fruit of Spirit, a blessing for your good health. That's 1-800-442-3793. Call them now, 1-800-442-3793.
This is Dennis J. Courtney, MD. Have you become confused about how best to manage your health? It's no wonder. It seems that every time you turn on the television or radio, another expert has yet another suggestion for you to follow that seems to be reasonable enough, but no matter how dutifully you follow the instruction, it just doesn't quite produce the results that you are looking for. If this confusion sounds familiar to you, give us a call at the Center for Complementary Health, where we'll make some sense of it.
Well, we can always call him up.
Blending of traditional and alternative medicine that we've been for 7 years.
Did you hear everything?
Nutrition testing, immune system repair, natural hormone replacement therapy, chelation therapy, cutting-edge allergy correction, and a host of other safe and effective alternative therapies.
Dennis J. Courtney, MD, is located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray. Phone 724-942-3002.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health here in a Monday morning version of the show, and with a topic that is extremely interesting, I think you'll agree. How to detect cancer at a level unknown before to be able to be even done is what we'll be discussing today with our guest, Dr. Emil Schandl, representing American Medical Laboratories. Dr. Schandl, you with us there, my friend?
I am here.
I had jotted down over the weekend, I'm now going to share with our listeners and even with you, categories of individuals that are out there listening to me right now that may and want to and should consider having this kind of testing done. So follow along with me, and if you're listening, see if you're in one of these categories. If you are, as you would understand it out there, listener, completely cancer-free, I mean, you have no hint that there is cancer in your life, but you're very concerned about, do you have a cancer at all? Because of the 80% possibility that it could be detected, this is a good step for you to take. Because if you should turn out to show up positive, that means 2 out of the 3 HCG tests be positive, you now have a lab that the conventional community unfortunately will not be able to deal with, but you'll be aware of the fact that you have cancer issues looming into the future. You evidently at that point will have far more level of sophistication than your doctors. They won't be able to do a thing for you, unfortunately, because with an HCG test that they don't even recognize as being sensitive, it will then compel you to deal with this in other ways, meaning alternatively, and I will tell you that this is eradicatable at that stage of the game, and we'll just forego that discussion right now. If you, in the second category, are currently and do have a cancer, but you don't have a common marker to follow, and that's pretty frequent, isn't it, doctor, where there are no markers that the patient can follow, they just have a CT scan or something like that that's positive. Is that fair?
Yes, it is fair. However, I must emphasize that the HCG alone is not enough. There are times when HCG will be dormant and the PHI will be elevated or the CEA. So it's very important to do, if not more, at least the tumor marker aspects of the profile.
Well, at least if you have an HCG that's positive, you do have a marker, and you are unlucky enough to have a cancer without a marker. I think you get put in a very sort of in charge category that you have heretofore were not able to be attained. You can monitor your treatment response. Is that fair, doctor? That if you're having any kind of therapy, whether that's conventional or not, will the level of HCG show the responsiveness of that treatment? Is that fair?
Yes, but again, you must include at least the PHI and the CEA, because in some cases, even with our sensitivity, some cancers generate the alpha subunit of HCG, and there is no test for that. And HCG could be negative, and there is a cancer, but that HCG, PHI, and the profile altogether.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think it's safe to say that I keep using HCG. I'm really talking about the entire profile, not just limiting it to the 3.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of it. Now, here's a category of patient, unfortunately, is far too high in frequency. If you have a cancer, but you believe that you beat it, you so-called are the survivor, you are the cancer in remission, however you phrase it, you may be doing so with a false sense of security. This is the test for you because it will be able to detect these cancers when you even think they've been eradicated, but they have not. Is that a fair way to use the profile, doctor?
No, it's a very powerful reason why. A lot of people have clear tumor margins, operation, surgery, and they still have elevated markers. There is a presidential candidate who had a serious cancer, and hopefully, really, God bless him, he's cured. He thinks he is. I would like to do the profile on him.
Oh, I bet you would.
Help him out.
Talking about Herman Cain, I know.
Exactly.
Beat it. And but are those markers at their lowest point? I don't know.
Exactly.
And then finally, because the HPI is such a great marker for invasiveness, you have a means to assess your cancer in terms of severity of it that the conventional medical community may not be able to help you with. I believe you're in the driver's seat once again when you utilize the cancer profile. You agree with me on that one also, doctor?
Well, yes, but we don't stage. We don't give numbers, stage 1, 2, 3, whatever that is. It's good to see that the markers decrease as a result of therapy. And it's very important. It's very encouraging. So one actually, and a number of doctors do follow the cancer patients with the cancer profile.
All right. Unfortunately, got to bring it to an end. We got it all in, doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed our discussion today. You can call us here. We have kits. We're ready to go. If you want to be involved with this testing in any way, the number here, 724-942-3002. Doctor, you promised to come back again, do you not?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, folks, hope you enjoyed the show. Talk to you about it on Wednesday. Until then, this is Dr. Courtney with Dr. Emil Schandl saying so long for AIM Impact on Your Health.
AM Impact on Your Health is sponsored by Dennis J. Courtney, M.D., Director of the Courtney Medical Group, located at 3075 Washington Road in McMurray, Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, call 724-942-3002. That's 724